Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Dev. Today we finish our weird Thanksgiving-inspired project featuring a naked headless turkey and some mutated stuffing. That's right, last time we built the foundation for our weirdo project featuring a naked headless turkey and some mutated stuffing trying to stuff the turkey. And we're finishing this project today as we focus on the gameplay mechanics first. We'll then tweak and balance and also add some extra visual pizzazz just to spice up the weird. So here we go, let's get to the coding. First up was to code a means for the turkey to defend itself. And you may have already been able to deduce that, yes, the attack is in fact a huge freaking laser beam. So going back to that boring old left click we wrote last time, I threw in some checks to determine whether we were ready to launch said beam. I then drew that beam if everything was good to go. And to add a bit of extra flavor, I had the beam size change thickness randomly, which gave off a great Dragon Ball Z vibe. And yeah, initially I went a little too big with it and had to tone it down some. But with our laser beam done, I then added a collision line check that would also be created when the beam is active. I then gave the enemies health, which they'd lose if the beam touched them, and to give it some extra punch, I had the larger bread enemies get knocked back if they weren't destroyed by the beam. Quick side note, I'm aware that the beam looks incredibly out of place, but given this was a small project for fun, I decided to focus on more important aspects of the experience than the realism of a laser beam firing from the neck hole of a naked turkey. Important things like death effects. I created an ash object that would then spawn whenever mutated stuffing gets destroyed by the laser. And since the larger breaded enemies take up notable space, I had to use a couple of loops to make sure that the ash would spawn in a shape that made sense for the breaded enemy. You know, so it looked like less of a poof and more of a, ouch, I just got blasted by a huge friggin' laser beam. Now, I know what you're thinking. Big laser equals overpowered. And I agree, so it was time to fix that. I gave the turkey an energy meter, which is to say the turkey has a max level of energy that can be used, and once depleted the player would then have to wait for a cooldown to kick in and replenish the laser's energy, and thus we now had a slight restriction to the laser's usage. Next, we had to make our laser firing turkey a little less immortal, so I added a quote-unquote breaded meter to the turkey. Anytime the enemy would make contact with the turkey, the bread meter would go up until it hits its max breading capacity. And if said capacity is reached, the game is over. And to make it a bit clearer that the enemies are disappearing not by laser but by stuffing the turkey, bits of the mutated stuffing chunks would spawn on contact. Also, the newly added quote-unquote breaded meter would fill. So now we've got enemies, a fail state, a way to prevent that fail state in the form of a giant laser beam, and meters to keep track of it all. Seems pretty solid so far, but I wasn't done with the weird just yet. I wanted a way for the player to survive longer, and there really was only one way to do that. Get rid of the stuffing. And that's what I did. If the player holds right click and so happens to have been breaded, at the cost of not being able to fire their laser, they would slowly relieve themselves of the stuffing. And if the meter lowering wasn't obvious enough, I added a visual display in the form of a trail of stuffing that thankfully doesn't last for very long. Yes, I realized immediately upon making this a reality that I was entering territory I was not ready to enter. But one game over screen later, and we've reached the end of the weird Thanksgiving experiment. We had a naked headless turkey with a giant laser beam, mutated stuffing ready to stuff that turkey, and the weirdest combination of things that I don't even know how they came to be. I spent a ton of time refining the numbers in the end to get it to be in a somewhat balanced state, but boy would this project need more work before I would ever put it out. Sadly though, we're out of time, and though I would like to continue polishing and developing this weird gem, that'll do it for this mini-series and this episode of Let's Dev. So remember that if you like this video or enjoy Let's Dev in general, be sure to hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And as always, be sure to leave your thoughts on our progress in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.